Hey everybody, how's it going? Hopefully my chat won't go down this time. Sorry about last week. Let's see. Yeah, y'all can see me all right. Can y'all hear me okay? All right, so far we've got hot rods and 4x4s. Thumper, the fat sweaty guy. I'm sorry, my apologies. Two Hacks Garage. Um, cool. Y'all doing all right tonight? Let's see here. Went a little early today. I know other live feeds going on Sunday night. Don't want y'all to have to pick and choose. Hot rods and 4x4s did some cleaning in the shop. It's too cold here today. I had to work all day. Kurt Zimmerman, hey, how's it going, man? Brian is here. Hey, Brian. Brian was doing a little work in the shop today. He's working on a Pro Street 71, I think. You're making some annoying music for a project? Are you a musician? Let's see. JB's little shop is in the house. All right, cool. In the 60s, yeah, it was 21 here this morning. Well, with a wind chill of like 17. And then it was 61 degrees an hour or so ago. So we had a 40-degree jump. And then it's supposed to be 21 or something again tonight. Something like that. Yeah, it's 57 now. And I don't know if that'll focus. 57 now, and low is 21. And then by Thursday, it'll be 75 degrees. So, that's Georgia for you. Oh, it's annoying because you're not a musician. I got you. Cool. Ronnie Clayton. Yes, sir. I was on there trying to ask some questions, talking about stuff. I'm trying to keep up now that it's cold and I'm out working a lot on heat for everybody. I'm not getting a lot of time in the shop lately, which is why there's no videos out. I've been trying to catch up. When I do get home, I don't have enough time to go out to the shop and work, so I've been trying to catch up on my YouTubes. Peter Stewart. Difference between big block mounts and small block mounts, and will my 6-cylinder mounts work for a 400 small block? Okay. The big blocks, this is passenger side. I know I'm sitting in the driver's seat. So the frame stands on the subframe. The big block is shifted over 1 3/4, 2 inches, something like that, to the side. The transmission mount is, and the motor mounts are taller on the driver's side, and I think angled a little bit different and maybe taller on the passenger side for two reasons: oil pan clearance and for header or exhaust manifold clearance on the steering box. So your big block and small block mounts are different for that. I think the 6-cylinder mounts are shorter and dead center. I've got a set of mounts that didn't fit a big block or a small block, so I'm assuming they're 6-cylinder mounts. And I think you can put a big block in on small block mounts, but you're going to have header clearance problems. And depending on oil pan or balancer, you're going to have a problem with that. Hey, excuse me. I'm okay, Dash. Fishing. Oh, wow. Yeah, it's kind of cold for fishing. I mean, I like fishing, and cold's okay, but -4. Where in the world is Barbershop Automotive? Where are you? 12 plus inches of snow and 2 hacks. Thank you, Stephen. I appreciate that. Yeah, we got some flurries the other night, but we really don't get snow. We might have some snow, but it won't be much. Yeah, the truck. That's true. The mounts I've got could be BOP mounts or something like that. I'm not real sure. I've taken apart a whole lot of cars, so I have no idea where they come from. But yes, Peter, to answer your question, you should be able to use. You might be able to use the 6-cylinder mounts for a 400. I've got a frame that's got the mounts on it. I can measure the distance between the mounts. Maybe not the height, but I can measure the difference between the motor mount bolt holes. And I'll post that on my community page later. I'll go out to the shop and measure the across difference between the two bolt holes. That'll at least tell you if the width is right, if it's going to be okay on a small block. And then you can measure your 6-cylinder mounts and see if they're close. Your Ventura was a 6-cylinder? Yeah. Number one will be here in a little while. I'm sure he usually shows up, and he's been sending me pictures or links of cars for sale in Canada, Venturas, because I'd like to have a Ventura one day. Anywhere, any of the 70s X-body Venturas. Somebody will let you out in a minute. But yeah, so hope everybody's doing good tonight. And sorry I haven't got any videos out. Like I said, I've been covered up with work. I worked a bunch today too. Ontario, Canada. Yeah, so you've got quite the weather up there. I don't think it really gets hot there in the summer either, if I'm not mistaken. Found some A-pillar molds finally that were pricey. Yeah, A-pillar covers are super expensive. I've got a set of, I thought I had an extra set of 2 doors, but it ended up being a 4-door set, and they are longer. An X-body GTO, yeah, I'd love to have one of those. That's the ultimate. The 74 was the only year they had that, I think, because I think the 73 GTO was still based on the Chevelle, the A-body. And then 74, they went to that. And I've seen a few of them. Somebody not real long ago, maybe a month or two, was parting one out, and it was rusty. I still would have saved it, but like I said, I'm not a big fan of parts cars. Happy Miller, what's going on, dude? Yes, work is a very good thing. You got to strike while the iron's hot, make hay when the sun shines, all those things. That's how I'm going to pay for the no-name nationals and pay for Rocky Mountain Race Week and all these other cars that I'm trying to work on. Yeah, I like all the BOP cars. The Oldsmobile Omega to me is the ugliest of the 4, but still good-looking car. Just the taillights were the worst, I think. But the so me and my wife actually, while I was out working earlier, she rode with me, and we stopped by looking at trailers to pull behind my car for race week. Timothy Lovren, how's it going, man? And my buddy Brian, he's building that 71. I'm trying to talk him into doing some videos on that. That's going to be a bad car. I think he's going to start with a regular small block to start with, and then eventually he's going to go with a 6.0 and a 4L80. Should be a cool car. It's got some big tires on the back. I think it had 1432s or something. He's got to put a little bit smaller tire on there because he don't want to stretch his wheel well. But I have done some work this week on the budget Nova, and that's what I want to talk about a bunch. Fixing to get back on that real hard. I still need to find a rear seat. I've got one that needs to be covered. It's just a frame, but I'd rather find one. I'd rather find one that's decent before I sell the car. I'll put a rear seat in it, at least a frame for the rear seat. I'd like to have that car running in 2 weeks, running and driving in 2 weeks. And I've got to do a bunch of driving on Frankenova over the next few weeks to see how it's going to act. And then I really don't think there's any way to get around putting a gear vendors in that thing. I thought about a 4L80, but a 4L80 is a little bit more expensive than a gear vendors. Plus, you got to get the converter. But the biggest problem is availability. Everybody that makes a good one is back ordered. They're like 12 weeks out. I think on Jake's Performance website, they're 12 weeks out. So, sorry. So let's see. Yes, sir. But yeah, so the budget Nova. So where we're at right now, I'll have the video for swapping the rear end out. That should be out Tuesday. And then later on in the week, the front subframe, all that'll be done. And then over the weekend, the engine and transmission are going in it, I hope. Transmission isn't put together yet, but it will be. There'll be a video on that. So sometime in the next 10-ish days, you'll have a video of swapping out the rear end, swapping out the subframe, because the one that's under there is just one I put under the car to move the car, and it's bent. I think the one that's in there is the one that I've got that's bent. It was in my 73 originally, and I took down a light pole with it back in the 90s. And so I'm going to swap the subframe out, put all the suspension stuff on that. That'll be one big video. And then I'm going to swap the rear end out. That video will be out Tuesday. And then I've got the transmission and the engine to put in there after I put the transmission together. So be a pretty busy 2 weeks. And then I can start the wiring and hopefully get it cranked up after all the lines and stuff like that get on there. Okay, 31 by 18, 15. That's still a big tire. I thought about calling. I watch a ton of the videos on precision automotive, precision transmission, but I don't think they do carryouts. I think they like to have the car there, and they look busy enough to where they're probably behind. I might give them a call though. And I've got a 4L60E, and it's the 96 model, 97 model. So it actually has the standard small block bell housing on it instead of the later model, which would be pretty cool because I wouldn't have to change anything there. But to build a 4L60E to handle the kind of power I'm going to be putting down, you really need a direct drum that has the bolt-on reaction plate for the 3/4 clutches, because if you don't, it's going to flex and you're going to burn up your 3/4 clutches, among other things. Plus the gear ratio, the first gear ratio on a 4L60E is a 306. They make a 284 6-pinion planetary for it, so you can change the first gear to 284. But the problem is that's $1,000 just for the planetary, and I would just buy a 4L80E. Hatches Recreational, how's it going? Yes, sir. They're coming soon. I've been watching your stuff too, man. You're getting along pretty good on it. I've been watching yours. There's another guy, I can't think of the channel's name right now. He's got he just did a quarter panel patch video the other day. But yeah, I've been trying to watch more content lately. It's been cold. I've been watching it at night. And sometimes I comment from my other channel, which is not Shop 209. I need to make sure I'm on Shop 209 channel when I'm commenting, so people will know who I am, if they care. 20 people, all right. I was on Lunar Garage Outlaw, Lunar Outlaw Garage last night, and you guys should check out his channel. He does pretty cool stuff. He's got some Buick stuff going on. He's got a Supra. He's got a satellite that he's doing a 444. He's got all kind of cool projects going on. Do I have a trans controller for the 4L? Yes, I do. I've got a Holley Terminator X Max that is going on Frankenova. I actually bought it a while back before I even got into Rocky Mountain Race Week, and I bought that one just so I could control an electronic transmission. So you get the Holley Terminator X and then the Holley Terminator X Max, and the difference is the Max controls the transmission. So I'll be able to program all of my 4L80 or 4L60 transmissions, and hopefully not have any issues with them. Like I said, it's really, as long as the Turbo 400 that's in there, as long as that one holds up just fine on the street. I ordered a pressure kit. I don't have a transmission. I have an old pressure gauge, but it's old and I don't want to hook it up. Plus I lost most of the fittings. So I ordered me a new transmission pressure gauge, test gauge kit, and then I ordered me a transmission temp sensor. That way I could keep an eye on the temps. And what I'm worried about is, with or without an overdrive, the converter that's in that thing is a 4,000 stall. And now with the small block I've got, it might not stall to 4,000 RPM on the line, but because I'm not using a trans brake and I don't even have a line lock on it, to be honest with you. But without using that, I don't know if it's stalled to 4,000, but if I start hauling a trailer around full of spare tires and spare parts and all that stuff for race week, and I start going up some of the hills in the Rocky Mountains, I'm worried about the converter slipping a bunch and overheating the transmission. So I'm going to have to keep an eye on that. And I'll probably end up putting a tighter converter in it, even if I don't change the transmission, if I just put the gear vendors on it. Farm Kid, what's going on, Russ? How's it going, man? Yeah, I bet the 455 is going to find all the weak links in a 700 or a 4L60. I think the sun shell and uh, the sun shell and like I said, the 3/4 clutch pack is the biggest difference. When the 3/4 clutch pack, I can't talk tonight, applies, your reaction plate that's held in with a snap ring on the back of that drum, it flexes, and when it flexes, your clutches apply unevenly, and then they burn up and slip. Just working away. Are you at work, Russ, or farm kid? You're back at work for a few weeks, I guess. Building your first C6 727s. Hopefully, I built it correctly this time. Yeah, I've never built I've never built a transmission. I've never built a Ford anything. I think I've done engine work on Fords, but I've never built a Ford motor. Yeah, I've got a good transcooler ordered with an electric fan on it. I've got a regular transcooler on the front of the car now, just a static one in front of the radiator, but I'm going to change that out. Also, I'm going to put AC on that car because in June last year it got over 100 degrees, and my wife's going to be my co-pilot, so she's going to have to work on this junk too. So I want to make sure that I've got enough air in there to keep us from dying of heat stroke. The Camaro body mount bushing is exactly the same as Nova 6872. Okay, so your 67 through 69 body mount bushings will be the same as the 68 to 72 Camaro or Nova, I think. Now, the 73, 74 has a taller rubber bushing instead of the spacer that you have on 68 to 72. So if you ever have a 73, 74 that you're putting that on, you have to if you use any performance bushings, you got to have the spacers, and they don't come with them. If you can find, Classic Industries sells the stock taller 73, 74 bushings, and you can use on a 68 72 if you take the spacers out. But I'm not sure what year Camaro bushings you have, so I don't know if they're the same. I'm not positive, but I don't think the 70 to 81 Camaro bushings are the same. The better parts to use for a 4L60E, I've done a lot of research on that this week, and you've got two problems. The 3/4 clutch pack, and the problem is to overcome that, as far as I'm aware, the Sonax Smart Shell and Smart Hub are the two big things to do to that. Now, the Smart Shell for your 3/4 clutch pack comes with an input shaft, and it's like $1,000. And to me, it's just not worth it on a 4L60, because by the time I buy a rear planetary for a first gear planetary to change the first gear from 306 to 284 on a 4L60, and I buy the Smart Hub, which Smart Hub's only a couple $100, it's not bad. But you're $2,200 in parts, and you don't even have a rebuild kit yet. So no way I'm building a 4L60, because and anything above 450 horsepower needs a lot of those parts, and I plan on having that much power. Ronnie, I might do that. We've been looking at trailers, motorcycle style trailers, so I might come see you. And is that gear vendor? Is that for a Turbo 350? Is that what it was for? Let's see. A beast shell in them. There you go. Okay, so there you go, Steven. Thumper, the sweaty fat guy. He puts a beast shell in them, a low roller upgrade, servos, and the late 60E pump gears. And I know some of the parts from a 4L65 will fit. You can use some of those. I'm not sure what, though. The rear quarter panel's fitment again. All right. Yes, but be more specific. I don't know what you're asking, Russ. Yeah, the 700 to 60E, like the early 4L60 transmissions were exactly the same thing as a 700R4, and they're not electronic. They just renamed the transmission. And then we went to electronic, then it's got like the 8-pin connector or whatever it is on there, and they are different. And then a lot of the parts are the same, but the controls were different. Gear vendor with a turbo 400 is better than any of the 60s if you have decent power. Absolutely. Yes. Okay. Cheaper to get it. Yeah, I agree, Brian. BW's Garage is here. How's that Nova project coming, man? I need to check. Have you posted a new video? I need to check it out. Okay, I got you. Okay, so on the 73, 74 hatchbacks, as long as if you're doing the whole quarter panel, you can actually get away with a 68 to 72 if you cut across the sail panel above that. Basically, on the 73, 74, the body line comes up and goes like this and then goes down. And on the 68 to 72, it kind of goes up at an angle and then goes down. If you cut under that line and cut up, you can use that. But on the hatchbacks, I think the weather strip lip is different. It's just a flat edge. I'm not positive. You can cut that, and the rest of the quarter panel is the same on 73, 74. So if you find like an NOS 73, 74 quarter panel, and there was a 73 hatchback quarter panel on eBay sometime in the last week or two, because I keep looking for NOS stuff on eBay. But the if you're just doing the skin, depends on how far down your rust is. You can do. I think the panels for the 68 to 72, the lines are better. All the 73 panels they make, the turn signal is farther forward. The side marker is farther forward away from the bumper. If you use the 68 to 72, that is farther back. And if you got the 73 bumper on there, it's going to be real closer behind it. So the lines are crisper on the 68 to 72 quality panels, but some of the 73 panels are okay. All right. You got snowed in. I got you. Yeah, finding a 4L80 core here is hard right now. Everybody that's got one has already got rebuilt, and some dude probably did it on his kitchen table. Doesn't mean he did a bad job, but everybody that's got one for sale in the marketplace and stuff around here has already got them rebuilt or whatever. They want too much money for them. For me, too much money for me. Might be worth it, but. Yeah, the tail shaft and housing, that's right, because you can convert them. Dave Plouffe, have you ever used a rear shock relocation kit from Performance Online? No, I haven't. I have seen a lot of people complain about them. To be honest with you, I built my own shock relocation kit, and other than, I'm not going to say it's bad quality because I haven't ever bought one. I know other people have bought one, but I don't know why they had failures. But what I'm worried about on any of the shock relocation kits that I've seen that bolt in without cutting the trunk floor at all is they angle the shocks in, so you lose a little bit of your compression on your shock there or your travel, and they have very little compression. They have plenty of rebound, but no compression. They use the Camaro shocks, so you use the stud, the straight stud on there instead of a T-bar, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you end up angling the shocks in order to get them in. And it has very little compression. So I'm not looking at the kit, looking at other people's pictures of it. I wasn't a fan of it, but I don't have any experience with it. All I can tell you is what I'm looking at. How high from the bottom of my coilover shock on Frankenova did I go to get it to sit where you liked it? Something like that, a couple of inches. I know this when I first, maybe not that far. I know this when I first had them in there, I put them on, I screwed it up with the hand to get the shock on there. And I think it was tightened up a pretty good bit. And when I can't remember if I put it on there and it's way too low to start with or not. It took a lot of, I would definitely try to get the bearing kit instead of just the thrust washer because it makes it so much easier to adjust. But I want to say I've got the adjustment about middle ways. I think that's where it ended up being. Yeah, I think the 80, I'm not sure, Farm Kit, I think the 80 has some tunnel modifications, but it's not terrible. Now, I know that some people on some cars, like Chevelles and stuff, the gear vendors on the back of a Turbo 400, they have to cut the brace out behind the behind the transmission, the rear floor pan brace. I'm not sure on a Nova. I haven't seen anyone that said anything about it. Wow. Brian said Tamaraz has 73 NOS quarters, one set. Ridiculous price. Was it $3,000 for a pair? All right, Dave Plouffe, is that a stock Camaro shock? Is that what you used? Let me know how that does for you, because like I said, it's now, did it end up real close as far as you only have an inch or so of compression left on the shock? I'd be curious. I'd be curious on that. I know a lot of guys have posted pics with theirs broken, and I don't know if they're using it with the wrong application, if they've lowered the car, because here's what's going to happen. And one thing you got to be careful about, that's why I'm worried about compression on the shock. If you're driving a lot on the street and you use that shock relocation kit and you hit a bump and your shock compresses all the way, the mount is going to take up all of your slack, all your impact, and it can break or bend or whatever. Now, if you've got more rebound, the shock absorber should slow it down before it completely compresses, I would think. But if you lower the car a bunch, you might not have any rebound even if you've got stock shocks. So hopefully, I guess I need to buy one of those kits and look at it. I've thought about engineering my own kit. I say engineering, hacking together my own kit and then selling them after I tested it. I'd get me a CNC plasma cutter and make all my own stuff and sell it as a weldable kit. I've thought about doing some of that. About 2 inches rebound. And see, that may be enough. That may be enough. I know if you have if you have factory shocks on a 6874 Nova, third gen Nova, and you have the car lifted at all, air shocks or longer shackles or anything like that, one of the problems you have is the shocks are pulled out all the way. So you have a ton of compression and no rebound. So that's why they make the shock extenders for them. All right, you did have to cut the rear floorboard brace on your car for the gear vendor. Okay. Was it real bad or no? And that's a Turbo 350, correct? Yeah, you already told me that. And I might just get the gear vendors from you and just put a Turbo 350 in the car, just because it's not hard to build them to hold 600 horsepower, and the gear vendor's already set up for it. That might be the way to do it. Yes, I have 2,000 aside. Wow. Yeah, that's kind of pricey. I mean, if you've got one and you want NOS panels, it's okay, but yikes. Have I ever switched from an auto to a manual? Yes. I switched from an automatic to a 4-speed. It was a Saginaw 4-speed. And actually, the pedals that came with the budget Nova were 4-speed pedals, and the guy I bought all the cars from has a Saginaw. I thought about going to get the Saginaw from him, but he has no idea about the condition of the Saginaw. So really, I'd still have to find a bell housing and clutch linkage and all that stuff. So I thought about doing that, but I decided an automatic would probably be the way to go for now. But I might get that Saginaw later. But Saginaws can't handle any power. Just the brace. Okay. I might have to check into that. I've got your phone number. I'll call you tomorrow if you're going to be around, Ronnie. Do I recommend it? If you want a manual, it's not bad, but just like I said, that's with all mechanical stuff. It wasn't terrible. Honestly, the hardest part is finding all of the stuff you need to do the manual swap. If you got an automatic, you're going to need the pedals. You're going to need the Z-bar, all the brackets, the clutch linkage. You're going to need your clutch fork, your bell housing, flywheel. You're going to have to make sure you've got a pilot bushing for your crankshaft, and all that stuff's going to have to match. You're going to have to make sure you drive shaft. So it's a lot to do. I think the cross members were the same as a Turbo 350. I think. I'm pretty sure we did not have to change a cross member. We just about had to change everything else on the car, though, as far as with the transmission. Muncie 21 and ST10, the Super T10s don't like 455s. Yeah, anything with a lot of torque like that can break it. especially if you get traction. Driving around the street, it's not too bad. Okay, so Leon Farino, did I say that right? Farino. As far as that, when I did my shock mount kit, you can find my video on there where I talk about my shock mount. When I did my rear shock relocation, I went on QA1's website, and they recommend that both shocks be behind the axle and in a straight up and down position. Depending on the driving you're doing, ideally you want them as far out as possible, because the farther from center you get, usually both tires, unless you're hitting a separation joint in concrete or something like that, both tires are not hitting something at the same time. So you're getting a rotating thing. And even though they're on leaf springs, you're basically the center of it is your pivot. So when you do that, the farther out from the pivot that both of your shocks are, the more dampening action you get from the shock to the spring. Now, also farther away from the spring you get, the less effect you have on the spring. So even if you want to figure it that way. But what you might want to do is angling them's not bad. I've seen people angle them in, but a lot of times you just do it the best you can. If you can't get them straight up and down, you get them as close to that as you can. Yeah, I think you're right. The mid plate would help, Kurt, on any transmission, really. Monolith springs, yeah. Yeah, an M22 is high dollar. You can find an M21 for M20 or M21, I think, for probably $1,500, just the transmission. And I've seen a few of them rebuilt for that. When can I afford them anyway? Yeah, okay, when you can afford them. Going to be the Caltrac Monoleaf or CPP. Yeah, the Caltrac stuff is nice. I'm not sure how great the Caltrac split monoleafs and Caltracs are on the street. I'll probably find out one day. But I know that they're fantastic for the track. Tom Hughes, how's it going, man? You know, I have to check those videos out. And if anybody needs a full floor pan for a 68 to 72 or 68 to 74, Brian, and he's in Ohio, he's got a full floor pan for sale. He ended up buying a back half car instead of working on the rust bucket he was working on. So he's got a few parts for sale. Tom Hughes, what did you ever figure out you were taking to the No Name? Aren't you taking a car? I know you talked about going. And in and out of wheel tubs, all AMD. Cool. Yeah, I'm going to do a video on the Detroit Speed mini tubs. I might do a video on doing it without the Detroit Speed tubs, but I know I'll at least do one on mini tub in the car. And then eventually I'll have a video on doing a full back half 4-link. So yeah, it's going to be a good year for Shop 209. We're going to do a lot of projects and stuff. So I'm planning on doing several events. Like I said, we got the No Name Nationals coming up. That's in September 30th and October 1st. I can't wait for that. And actually, I think who was it that called me out last night on Lunar Outlaws channel? Was it Thumper? No. Who was it? Two Hacks Garage. Yeah, he said he was going to race me. He's got like a 6,000 cubic inch Ford motor that makes 200 horsepower, something like that. Are you doing Road Week then, Leon? Yeah, dude, you're in Canada. I bet shipping is going to be murder on anything. 73 satellite, 32 Chevy 3-window. Cool. Any of that would be cool. That's right, Two Hacks, you did. A 521 big block Ford. That's a stroker crank in a 460 block, right? You can put such a big crank in a 460 block. A stock block get 521 cubic inches. I think the biggest you can get out of a 454 block is 505 cubic inch. I think you can do that. You can go 125 over and put a 4 1/4 stroke in it or something like that. 200 horsepower, 300 RPM. Yeah, that's about right. Cool. Yeah, I look forward to seeing any of you guys at No Name Nationals. And then Rocky Mountain Race Week, like I said, it's going to be in June. I've got a lot to do to the car because, like I said, I really didn't set it up to do any long distance driving. I built that rear end for it. It's a 10-bolt, 8.5 inch with Moser axle, C-clip eliminators, and it's got a 410 gear and a posi unit. But I'm sure it's strong enough. That's no problem. But the C-clip eliminators were on my blue 73 for several years, and I've probably got 5,000 or 6,000 miles on those. So at the very least I do to that rear end, I'm going to have to take the C-clip eliminators. Actually, that housing was in that car too. When I took that out and built a new rear end for my blue car, I wanted to get away from the C-clip eliminators. So I put a stock style housing back in with Moser C-clip axles in my 73. And I took the housing that was cut down for C-clip eliminators, the axles, and the eliminators, and I built that rear end for Frankenova with all those parts. So the problem now is I've got C-clip eliminators with 5,000 or 6,000 miles on them, and that's when they start to leak. And it's probably not a good thing to drive to the Rocky Mountains with those on there. So at the very minimum, I'll replace the C-clip eliminators. Yeah, I'm looking at I'm good. Probably going to do a gear vendor. That's the cheapest route for me. The only thing that's bad about a gear vendor that's not bad is if you go with a 4L60, the overdrive ratio is 0.70 or 0.696. Might as well be 0.70. 4L80 is 0.75 and a gear vendor's is 0.78. But it's still better than 1-to-1. And it's, even if you have to buy one at full price, it's still cheaper than you can do a gear vendors and get your drive shaft shortened for the same cost as a Jake's Performance 4L80E, which the 4L80E, you can lock up your converter, which is a gigantic difference. So like I said, there's plenty of benefits to both, but the easiest and probably most logical thing for me to do is a gear vendor, especially if I go see Mr. Ronnie. Trailer queen it to the track. Well, I'm going to trailer queen it to Great Bend, Kansas for the first day, but then you have to drive between tracks. That's the whole point of race week. No, but there is a guy in Florida that was just selling a bunch of parts. I need to ask him if he has a hatchback hatch. I emailed him the other day. I'm not sure if you saw that on one of the Nova pages. Some guy in Florida has a ton of parts. Okay, so Thumper, I looked at doing a 9-inch Ford, and I could do for the axles and the housing already set up for the multi-leaf springs with the GM style purchase on them is like $1,250. And then I need a center section, which I've got a 9-inch Ford sitting right here with a center section. By the time I built that, I'd be at $2,000 minimum for a rear end. If I get Quick Performance to build the whole thing for me, I'm at about $2,600 for how I would spec it. And, then if you break it, I can swap center sections out. So that's good. Your bearing ends are welded on. Your bearing ends are welded on. That comes with drum brakes and stuff like that. So it's not a bad idea, but I've got to buy a bigger car trailer. I don't have a car trailer. I got to buy a car trailer. I've got to buy a race week trailer to pull behind the car. I've got to do changes to the car. So I'm going to have to spend my money on what I have to do first, and then optional stuff will come up later. Unless y'all get me to like 100,000 subscribers in the next month, which probably won't happen, but that's okay. It might. You never know. I might do a video on changing out the cardboard lining in the glove box and have 300,000 views on it in 2 days. You never know. Yeah, Brian's got frame rails, inner and outer wheel houses on the back, floor. I think you used the trunk pan. Did you sell the trunk pan already? 250 gear and whatever you want to run. Yeah, but I don't have enough torque with a small block. I don't have enough torque for naturally aspirated small block to move with a 250 gear. And I thought about putting a Tyler converter and a taller gear in it, but the problem with that is that it'll be a slug off the line. Now, the thing is, Frankenova, the way it sits, is an 11-second car, I hope. Hasn't been to the track yet, hasn't been to the dyno, so I really don't know. But I've built similar combinations before, and I know what they did run, so I'm pretty sure it's going to be an 11-second car, at least with some tuning. Now, at the altitude up there in Denver and Kansas and Nebraska, I'm not sure what it's going to run. It'll probably be a few tenths off. So I don't think I'm going to have enough. It's not like it's going to be a really quick car to start with. I don't think I could get close to winning the naturally aspirated small block class, because typically the guys that win that are in the 9s or the 10s that win, and third or fourth place is usually in the mid 11s to 12s. Now, everybody in front of me could break, which I would hate that on anybody. Hate to wish that on anybody. But, yeah, you could win running 12s or 11s if other people didn't show up with a fast car or broke before they finished the week. Yeah, the No Name Nationals is in Missouri. Absolutely. And I think you have to have 500 subscribers to do that. But if you start a channel, we'll make sure you get to. And I've got a few people on here. Two Hacks Garage. Y'all need to go look at his. Y'all need to go look at his channel. He's got some stuff going up. He hasn't posted a lot, I think, but he's going to do some stuff, and he's going to have to get 500 subscribers. Who on here needs 500 subscribers for the No Name Nationals? I've got a 9-inch out of a 66 Galaxy, which is probably a little bit wide, but yeah, Jeffers Motorsports Park. That's right. Kearney is your home track. Oh, cool. Well, then I'll definitely see you there if you're going to be around for race week. Only a tenth or two difference. Okay, that's not bad. Elevation here is 650 feet or 700 feet, something like that. All right, so Thumper, the sweaty fat guy, he needs 500. JB's Little Shop and Two Hacks Garage, they're all going to need subs. So if you guys are watching, and go check out their channel. If you feel like it, subscribe. And there's a lot of guys. So the deal with the No Name Nationals is to enter a car in that you have to have 500 subscribers on your YouTube channel. It's for automotive. Well, it's for YouTube creators. And that's going to be, you call each other out, stuff like that. So I haven't done a good job explaining what it is, but it's basically a call-out race or an exhibition race. They're going to have a car show. They're going to have a monkey bike drag race or call-out competition. And they've got some rules on that, but everything else is pretty much, run what you brung. And they're going to have I think they're having a burnout competition, stuff like that. All right, Hatch's recreational engineer trying to figure out logistics from getting one of his cars from New Jersey to Missouri. There you go. Trailer it, drive it. I think Lunar Outlaw is going to drive his Supra. Cool. Yeah, y'all help each other out. Subscribe. But yeah, we're gonna do the No Name Nationals, and Two Hacks is gonna race me. He's got a 68 or 69 Thunderbird, I think, with a 521 big block Ford he's building. Adrian Stebbins, an old Coleman motorcycle camp trailer. Huh. I'd like to see what that looks like. I've looked at a Hallmark Flex trailer, and it's got a top that opens up and a door that opens on the back. And if I can find one of those, that would be ideal. I've actually looked at some of those little mini campers, the little teardrop campers. They've got some that fit in the size rules for the trailer. I don't want something that's real tall that I can't see over. And I haven't figured out yet how I'm going to mount a hitch. I have a factory trailer hitch for a 73, 74 Nova, but I've converted the back of Frankenova to a 68, 72 style, so it won't fit now. Sold the trunk van, okay. Rocky Mountain NA is 10 to 10.5 average last couple. Right, exactly. Yeah, they kill it. And a lot of guys don't make it to the end. Yeah. Yeah, like I said, it's I've done enough driving in my old cars on other trips to where I'm going to be prepared for it now. Really, I'm not too worried about. I'm more worried about pulling a trailer with it, and then I'm more worried about the depending on what I do for transmission and converter. I'm worried about overheating the transmission. There's not too much I'm worried about. I'll bring enough spare parts. I'm going to have terminator fuel injection on it. I'll probably bring a spare ECU. I'll have a spare fuel pump. Now, what I've got on Franken-Nova, you guys have watched that video. Very popular build. I need to get the car to the dyno and to the track. But I've got a stock style 69 fuel tank. And since the 73 trunk floor is higher on one side and it had an extra capacity tank, I put spacers on that side on top of the tank. And I'm thinking about Holly makes a factory style tank pump sending unit combination that'll fit their Terminator thing, and it's no regulator. It's got a built-in return that returns in the tank. It's a sweet setup. I want to get that, but at the same time, I'm thinking about putting a fuel cell in the back of Franken-Nova for a couple of reasons. The trunk floor is rusty, and a lot of people want to know how to fix that. So I might do a video on fixing that and putting a fuel cell in at the same time. It'll give me more capacity because I think the factory 69 gas tank is 16 gallons, I think, something like that. And if I'm getting 10 miles to the gallon, which I'll be lucky if I do, maybe a little better. But that's 150 miles, 140 miles I'm able to go without filling up. 68 4,000-pound bars T-Bird. Oh, cool. Yeah, so you're new to Ford. That's going to be interesting, ain't it? That's going to be pretty cool. I've got a 76 Ford van that my father-in-law gave me several years ago before he died. And originally I was going to use the engine, transmission, and rear end to put in that 52 Ford truck that's in the shop. But now I'm kind of thinking about doing something kind of cool with the van. So we'll see. It's a cargo van, so there's no windows. I think the back doors have windows, but the side door does not. So that'd be pretty cool. And I've got to go do some work after a while, so I'm not sure how long I'll be on here, but we're good for right now. Any other questions? And the budget Nova, I'm going to end up being about $500 or $600 over the $5,000 budget on that, but that's not going to be terrible at all. It'll be a pretty nice car for what it is. And then I'm going to sell it fairly cheap considering the market. Free candy van, that's right. Yeah, murder van. That's the kind that creepy people ride past playgrounds in. Yes, sir, BW. And y'all go check out BW Garage's channel. They got pretty cool. They just bought a Nova. Sounded pretty mean in the first video he posted. And they've got that. Got a bunch of good channels on here. Hot Rods and 4x4s. He's done like an LS swap. He's done some Nova stuff. He's worked on a lawnmower. He's done a little bit. He pulls a camper. He did an LS swap in a early model. I think like a mid '80s square body. He did an LS swap, and he pulls his camper with it. He's got the Sniper fuel injection on it, I think. Yeah. So like I said, I know somebody on Rocky Mountain Race Week said that the guy that won last year was not going to be there in small block NA class because he's doing drag week, I think, and wasn't going to do both. 84 square body. There you go. Yeah, he's got an 84 square body, and he's got the X-Max on it. But it's going to be a good year. We're going to do a lot of cool stuff, and I've got some more beginner style videos I've got planned. I'm going to do some stuff because I know a lot of guys, the videos that work best for me are my information videos when I'm just talking, my short videos that I'm talking about Novas and stuff like that. Those get the most views. The longer videos, they get a lot of views and they do good, but the worst videos are the ones that are most appreciated. So the ones with the least amount of views are some of my very basic videos. I did one on what's the difference, some engine terms and stuff like that. And they do fine, but nothing like my other videos do. But I haven't put down any videos lately, so just something right now would be good, right? Thanks, Dave Plouffe. I certainly appreciate it, sir. There you go. Adrian Stebbins has towed one of those cheap red imported trailers across country. Just do some minor reinforcement prior to adding the wood floor. There you go. Yeah, Russ, hit me up later, buddy. Thank you. And yeah, I'm up to about 80 videos, something like that. And Leon, have you ever done race week or drag week, any of those things? And John Wilburn's doing the John Wilburn and Dallas from the AHRA. They're doing plenty of stuff for this event, and I think they're trying to figure out what all's going to work for this event, and then I'm sure next year when they do it, it's going to be more spectacular. So if they can get that, I think it'll end up being a really, really good event. Okay, I'll look at that, Ronnie, because I might. I've been looking at aluminum ones with a cine unit in them, so I might. I just need to come see you. And later this week is if you're going to be around, later this week might be a good time to do that. Built a Tractor Supply Big Red trailer kit for Sick Week. And, I've thought about the Harbor Freight trailers. I've thought about building my own trailer. The Harbor Freight trailer, the problem with those little trailers, wherever you get them from, the wheels are so small, your bearing speed is through the roof, and you burn up bearings if you're not careful. So if I did that, I would try to find some bigger wheels and tires to slow that down or carry a bunch of spare bearings with me. Cool. Did you finally get the carburetor and all? How much boost is that thing making? 4 or 5 pounds? I don't know how much a 2.8 can handle. I know those little 144 blowers can put out, 6 or 7 pounds of boost, I think. A 65 Le Mans gasser. Yeah. Look, I'll be honest with you. The hard part about Rocky Mountain Race Week is getting in to start with. That's the difficult part. And like I said, I was just stupid luck. I had the advantage I had was I was on the page to get tickets for 10 minutes before it started. I was refreshing, and it had autofill with all my information in. And I still got real lucky. But I watched a video where Mountain Garage, he's got a 55 Chevy. He's wanted to bring to Rocky Mountain Race Week. And he's on the wait list. But I was watching his video, and he was at a hotel somewhere, and I think his computer was slow, and he was trying to get in, and he didn't get in. But so a lot of people tried and didn't get in. So I'm very, very fortunate that my timing was just lucky. 5 pounds of boost. Okay. That's what they did. I got you. Put bigger tires on it. Okay. 5,000 RPM. Okay. That's not bad. 5,000 RPM for that little 2.8 is probably singing. All right, so on the budget build, do you guys want to see me doing a budget paint job on that thing? Or do you want to see me do or leave it like it is? Because it's pretty ugly. And I am going to sell it, but it's either going to be for sale for not a whole lot more than I have in it, or it's going to be for sale for, if I paint it, the price is going up. And I've got 2 or 3 people that are interested in it. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do there yet as far as body-wise. It needs lower quarters. Pretty much everything, all the major rust is fixed on it. I say all the major rust. All the major rust will be fixed on it, even if I don't paint it. All the big stuff. The taillight panel, that's already fixed. The window channel and the quarter panel, the deck filler panel, all that stuff's, the floor pans, all that stuff's taken care of. Budget paint good for views. I agree. I need to find a few good things for views. I've got February, March, April, and May to have my YouTube channel pay for my trip to Rocky Mountain Race Week. It's not looking good, but you don't make that much money from here unless you're getting a lot of views, which maybe one day it's okay. And I'm not doing it to make money. I would like to make money, but I'm not doing it for that reason. If I was doing it for that, I would have shut it down a year and a half ago. But yeah, so the budget paint thing, the doors are pretty much rust free. They have a little bit of rust at the very bottom, but nothing bad at all. I've got fender patches for the fenders. I've got fender patches for the fenders, but pretty much just the lower, some of the wheelhouse and the lower quarter panel. The trunk drop-offs aren't even terrible bad. They're not great, but I could just patch those. If I bought them, I would, instead of cutting the whole thing out, because those things are a pain to cut the trunk drop-offs out and do those is pretty much a pain. So I've got a few options on paint. I can do Summit brand paint, which if you buy the Summit single stage, it's Kirker paint. The Summit two-stage paint is Sherwin-Williams, or at least it used to be. I think on Steve's Nova site, one of the forums, there was a guy that worked for Sherwin-Williams, and he confirmed, it might have been another forum, but I'm guessing Steve's Nova site. There was a guy that confirmed that Sherwin-Williams made the Summit's two-stage paint, and it was like a mid-grade paint, so it wasn't junk. But I could do Summit. I could do Eastwood paint, which is Kirker. I could do something from the local shop here, like a shop line from PPG or Omni or whatever it is. I think it's shop line now, but it's the lower brand. Or I could get the DuPont's got a cheaper line too. Can't remember what the name of it is. Yeah, single stage paints are cheap and they work good. Hibbie Miller, we'll see you later, buddy. Thank you. Yeah, come on down, man. I'd love to see you in Kearney. That'd be great. To haul some cars out of Nebraska. So where are you hauling them to? Nebraska's got a lot of good old truck stuff. Every time I find good parts for the 52 Ford we've got, they're all in Nebraska. More work. Yeah, I've never used any Sherwin-Williams automotive paint. I do have some Summit epoxy primer, and then I've got some Summit epoxy primer already. I bought it for one of the other projects, and I've got a gallon of that, and I think it's 2 to 1, so you get 2 gallons sprayable, which is plenty. No, I've never tried any water-based paints, which even then, now maybe some of the industrial stuff you're talking about is different, but I know your automotive water-based paints, only the base coat is water-based. Your clear coats are still solvent. Okay, I got you. So you're in Michigan and you got a family farm in Nebraska. I got you. But yeah, and the car was originally black. The 69 Budget Nova was originally black. I don't know what color I'd paint it. I might paint it white. Might paint it resale red. I doubt it. Red's an expensive paint, and if you don't buy a really good paint when you paint something red, it takes a lot of coats to cover. Usually. Budget paint job? Okay. That might be the key to all my views and subscribers. Doing a budget paint job, which I like the budget stuff because I've always been broke. So sorry, I keep checking the thing. I keep getting text messages over here. I've always been broke, so budget stuff is how it's had to be. Not broke. I've always been too worried about paying regular bills. Burnt orange. Andre, how's it going? You know, I kind of thought about, I like some orange colors, and there is I've picked out a couple of colors from House of Colors that I would like to paint something. And I'm going to do an orange car sometime in the future, even if it's not that one. Yeah, I've seen implement paint used on some cars, and it looks, some of that implement paint Works really well, and if you reduce it enough, it flows out nice and looks good if you've got a good surface underneath. Definitely. Safety yellow water based. Hey, if it works, it works. I've seen a bunch of people do the Rust-Oleum stuff. I've actually seen a few people thin it out and spray the Rust-Oleum, but a lot of the guys were doing the $50 Rust-Oleum paint job. They're rolling it on with a tight nap roller and then polishing it out. But sanding enough to get rolled on paint smooth makes my elbow hurt thinking about it. Yes, originally they come with single stage lacquer. Yeah, House Color is very good paint. It's very expensive too. Which, I mean, I've got PPG Deltron on my 73 that I've got to repaint, and it was pretty expensive 7 or 8, 9 years ago whenever I painted it. And that's going to be a video when I repaint that car, which I didn't paint them up. I did all the body work and did all the block sand and everything until it was time to spray the paint. And since the paint was like $1,500 or something like that, I let my buddy whose shop I was at, let him spray it because I didn't want to make a $1,500 mistake and have to buy more paint. I would love to go to SEMA one day. I just need to make it happen. TCP Global Single Stage. There you go. What's the paint that starts with a D? Craig used it on his car. I can't remember what it is. It's shoot. I don't know what it is. I think it's a sub-brand of DuPont. Maybe not a D, it's something else. 71 CTM with a big block. International yellow and white. It's ugly but ran great. There you go. A single stage OE type color would look good. Yeah. As far as original colors on the cars, I would like silver's kind of hard to paint because it's got. I painted the trunk lid. It's on Frankenova. I practiced painting some silver with it, and it's real easy to get stripes and stuff in silver. Yeah, but DuPont makes another line. I can't think of the name of it. It's a lower. Nason. It wasn't a D. It was an N. DuPont was the D. Okay, thank you. The Nason or Nissan or whatever you call it. I think that's made by DuPont. One of the local part stores here sells a bunch of that. And my buddy Craig has used it on his Mopar stuff, and it all seems to look pretty good stuff. Yes, Nissan. Yeah, there you go. Silver is easy to screw up, but on a factory OEM color, I would probably pick like the Marina blue color or a I like the lime green, the 69 Nova that I'm doing the roof skin, quarter panels, wheel houses, trunk floor, all that stuff on. That car was originally that frost green, the 69 frost green. And I'm hoping to do, when I do that one, I might go back to factory color on that one. I just don't know. That's going to be a very involved video, and I've got some more stuff coming up on that. But yeah, let's see, Tom, the direct drive chance now. Okay, cool. And guys, check out Tom Hughes. He's got a lot of interesting tech stuff on his channel. Tommy Cook, how's it going, man? And hey, look, this time you guys should be proud of me. I actually set the live stream up yesterday, so y'all had at least 24 hours notice. And then I did another post today. So hopefully that helped letting everybody know. And then I decided to come on, at 6 instead of, because I know Uncle Tony comes on tonight, and a lot of people jump over to his channel. So I didn't want to step on top of anybody else. I wanted to have a bunch of people here. So I wanted to increase my chances. Look at the blue shot on C5 Ford Flame Blue. Yep. And pearl's just expensive when you get pearl in it. Is it a single stage with pearl? Infamous Nova. Hey, dude, what's going on, man? Yeah, like I said, I've shot some single stage before, and I've done a little bit of base clear, but I'm not sure what I would do. Honestly, some of it, depending on where you're shopping. Now, if you go to the parts store and have a mix-up board if you want, that's no problem. But if you're buying like the Summit single stage versus the Summit 2 stage, totally different set of colors. That's one way you can tell it's different manufacturers, because the two-stage paints, you can't get the same colors in their single and two-stage. And I think Eastwood is the same, but I'm not certain. Two-stage, Nathan. Okay. Yeah, so budget paint job. The transmission is going together this week. I got everything I need for that. And then the rear end I've swapped. That video will be out Tuesday. And that's the rear end I got from Mr. Ronnie. And I cleaned that one up. And the cool thing is that has a 342 gear in it. So now it's an open. The rear end is coated as a posi, but when I pulled the cover off the back, look at it, everything looked great, but it was an open carrier instead of a posi. So somebody probably warranty swap or something like that, but the gears are in great condition. So the bearings, everything looked okay. So it's good. It's going to be a good rear end to use. I haven't. The brakes will need rebuilt, but I've got all new brakes anyway. Do I take that strip off the side of your cars? Yes. I'm not a fan of the body side molding. Now, I have seen cars set up a certain way with a certain trim package and paint job where the side stripe looked great, but it's not for me. I had a 70, excuse me, I'm dying here. I had a 72 that had it on there, and I did not take it off of the 72, and it looked okay, but it just had stock wheels. It was pretty much a stock car. It's an 8.5 inch 10 bolt. Marina blue, yeah. And there's, some of those colors, the name was different depending on what car it was on. Same color, different car. Now, Frankenova was originally bright aqua turquoise or bright aqua metallic, I think, which is a 74 color that's a really cool color. And I've thought about painting Frankenova at some point. It'll probably go to Rocky Mountain Race Week like it is with all the rust and stuff on it. But I don't want it to rust anymore. So a lot of the stuff on the quarter panels that's bare metal, I'll probably try to get all the metal off of it and primer it, and then put some factory blue style paint on there without clear or single stage paint and dull it down and try to sand it and still make it look like it's crap that it looks like now. And Brian, send me that information. Send me what you would do on that, because I know you have some experience. He sent me a text. Good. He sent me a good idea text. So, let's see here. What's the best way to get it off? The best way to get it off. Okay, so on the door, you have. I know there's one stud close to under the handle. There's a stud there, and then there might be one on the front of the door. It's been a long time since I took it off, and then the rest of it. It's got little plastic slide clips. The fender has twist clips that hold those on. I think you have a stud at the front, maybe a stud at the back, but I think at the back I know in the middle it's got the twist clips. And then the quarter panel section of the side trim, you've got the plastic clips all the way down except for in the very back by the tail light. If you open up the trunk, you've got a stud there, if I remember correctly. The half-ton trucks had 8.5 in them since around 1980. Yes, but if you buy the wrong year half-ton truck with the 8.5, it's going to be a 30 spline. And your axles, all the Nova stuff, the 8.5s were 28 spline. I bought an 8.5 inch posi unit at a swap meet at the Super Chevy show in Atlanta a long time ago, and I did not realize it was 30 spline. I get the whole car in. I had to send the rear off to the shop, had it set up. The shop I worked at the time, we're putting the rear in that night, and the axles wouldn't go in. Or they went in and the spline was wrong. So I had a 12 bolt at the time that I should have kept because they're super valuable now. I pulled the axles out of it, and since I was using C-clip eliminators, I pressed the C-clip eliminators off, pressed them back on the 12 bolt stock axles, and cut the C-clip things off the end and put it in, because the C-clip retaining part of the axle is thicker on a 12-bolt axle than it is a 10-bolt axle. So other than that, they're swappable. Tom Muse, hey, have a good night, man. Thank you. Infamous Nova. I weld up the holes. If you fill them up with filler, they're going to crack. Now, if you're just going to prime it or something, if you're doing something super budget, you can try to put some filler in it, but it will work, but it'll eventually break out. All right, let's see. Yeah, some truck pinion bearings are different. And I think they have an 8.6 for some of the later model stuff. All I need to carry is an easy swap. Don't have to touch a pinion most of the time. That is true, because if you're using the same gear, all you have to do is reset your backlash, but you need to check your backlash first because you don't want to set it up different because your gears are lapped together. Yeah, hatch lids, man, they're farm kid. He's already left for the night. He was on here earlier. He has one up in Canada that he's working on, and it's rusty. And you can take the inner structure out of a trunk car trunk and fix the bottom of a hatch lid. There's several people that have done that. I've never tried it. I've never owned a hatch. I almost bought a Spirit of America car 20 years ago, but I already had enough junk in my yard at the time. Okay, Brian is doing his Pro Street Ford Flame Blue. John Wilburn's in the house. All right, dude. And yeah, John Wilburn's the one putting on the No Name Nationals, if you guys didn't know already. So he's him and Dallas from the American Hot Rod Association got with Jeffers Motorsport Park in Sikeston, Missouri, September 30th, October 1st, and they're going to do the No Name Nationals, and it's for YouTubers. And you have to have 500 subscribers, and there's going to be grudge racing, just exhibition runs, car show, banana eating contest. I don't know, something like that. They're going to have a monkey bike challenge. They're going to have all kind of cool stuff going on. So, but yeah, it's going to be a good time. It's going to be a real good time. John Wilburn, are you snowed in up where you're at? Oh, I'm excited. I was telling them that you guys have a good turnout this year, and I'm sure you will. The next year event would only be even better. I don't know if that's something you'd move around from track to track, or if you'd keep it in the same place every year. It wouldn't matter to me. I've used fiberglass in the past. I don't like it. Not at all. Not when you're patching up metal. Now, if you have to use it, you have to use it. There might be an acceptable way to do it, but I can't tell you. I don't have enough experience with it to tell you it's good to use. I would probably use some panel bond adhesive with metal that's flanged then before I would use fiberglass. There you go. The roof is very difficult because if you start welding stuff in the roof, it's real easy to warp that, and you'll never get it straight without Ron Covell showing up. Tracy Allen Rothacher. I prefer Rothaker. I'm sorry if I screwed that up. Prefer all metal. You talking about all metal filler or all metal repairs? Tony Genezio, what's up, dude? Plowing a blizzard. Nope, haven't heard anything about the junkyard yet. I doubt those guys are gonna run anybody. Well, they're not gonna run me. And if they do, they're fine. And he didn't completely blow me off. So he just said they were wary of taking on any challenges at the moment, but which means they're not going to run me, sure. But I'm not bitter about it. If they want to run, I'll still run them. I just thought it would be a really good matchup. They're building a 360 and putting it in whatever car that I can't remember what kind of car that is. They're building a 360, and they've got some home ported heads. I think they're using a flat tappet cam, and they've got 8 3/4 rear. They're going to use super stock springs, stuff like that. I thought it would be fun to have a race against them. I thought it'd be pretty cool because I've got a 350 in Franken-Nova, and other than the IK 180 heads from Brodix on there, it's not really a horsepower machine. Yeah, I agree. Get a cheap. You can go to Harbor Freight and get a cheap gas welder or MIG welder. I would suggest using gas because it's a cleaner weld for body work. It's easier too. The hatch was blown through. Yeah, honestly, here's a few tips for you on welding thin sheet metal. Now it's ridiculously pain in the butt, but my brain's not working. It's really tedious. That's what I was looking for. Tedious. When you're using a wire welder, get it on the lowest setting you can. Make sure you use the thinnest wire. So if you've got some 020 wire you can find or something real thin like that, that's going to lower your amp draw every time you hit it. And you're going to have to do just one little dot at a time, do them away from each other. And also what it helps, take you a pair of side cutters or diagonal cutters, whatever you call them. And each time you weld, it leaves a little ball on the end of your wire like this, where that increases surface area, which increases current, which increases heat every time you stick it back on there. So if you're really being particular about it, you can weld a little spot, clip a tiny bit off the end, weld a little spot, because that cut wire has a smaller surface area when you first hit it on there and weld, and it produces less heat. So you're going to have way less warping there, way less blow through. All right, 22 gauge or 16 gauge. The factory stuff is 18 gauge or 19 gauge, depending on what kind of car you're working on. But I buy 18 gauge cold rolled sheet steel, and I've got a couple of sheets of it in the shop. And I make my pieces out of that if I'm going to make patches. Yeah, they got to get that. John talking about the junkyard jet guys. They've got to get the car sorted out, which is, that's why he was not willing to accept anything right away. It's a Valiant. Okay, yeah. Yeah, and that's the problem with some of the spots you can't screw up, and you also have to be careful if the car is put together. You're going to have you got to worry about interior and setting the car on fire. I've set a car on fire welding before, but it was at a shop. Flux core will work. I'm not saying it won't. You just have to really clean that really good and make sure you get all that flux out so that you don't have any reactions with any paint or filler you put on there. Tracy Allen, all metal filler, 20 years, no bubbles yet, and car sits outside. See, that's the way you do it. The filler I used on my 73 was 3M premium filler. Now, I had a problem, and it wasn't the filler's fault. I had moisture suck into the filler. So from now on, I'm doing bare metal, epoxy, and then filler on top of the epoxy. That way I don't have to worry about you can still have moisture problems, but it won't be in the filler from the metal. A Hobart 120, 23 wire, heat range 2. There you go. That's a good idea. 73 Nova? Okay. 023. Okay. I knew what you meant. And see, I also have a Synchrowave 180 TIG welder. Yes, infamous Nova. It is called all metal. That is a brand of filler. I'm about out of tea. Quitting not drinking as much Mountain Dew is very difficult. This sweet tea is not really doing it for me. JB, you've got some patch panels due to spring. Attempt with my low flux core. Like I said, it works fine. There's no problem using a flux core wire welder on patch panels. It's just there's always the possibility that the flux can have some kind of reaction. Yeah, BW, we're still here, man. I'll probably be getting off in the next 20 minutes or so. I got to go do a bunch of work tonight. Restaurant is shutting down. I got to go in there and do some work. I don't know how big of a hole it would feel. I don't suggest just putting it over a rust hole, but yeah, you can put filler over a rust hole. Here's the problem. If you have a rust hole and it is completely level with the rest of the body, so to speak. So if it's completely level and it's just a rust hole, even if you cut it out, if you put filler on top of it and sand it down to where it's smooth, well, now you've only got the thickness of the metal of filler, and it's going to push in and break. If you leave any shoulder around it to hold the filler over the hole on the outside of the hole, then what's going to happen is you're going to actually be proud on the metal, and it's going to stick out. You're going to trip over it with your eyes. So your option is to do the old cave it and pave it hack job, which is where you actually dent it in a little bit so that you can build up filler around it. And that's terrible advice. I'm not telling you to do that, but I have seen it done. I might have been in a party to it, but I was probably 16 or 17 when I did it. And I was showed that by someone else. Brian's using 023 wire for panels and 30 for up to quarter-inch steel, right? You got the orange TIG welder. Okay, I've never used a Harbor Freight TIG. And Eastwood sells all metal. I think Summit sells all metal also. And Infamous, I'm going to do some videos I'll probably do some in-depth stuff on some patch repair like that. I've done a little bit of stuff on stuff, but it's been kind of just general. I'll try to do. So here, guys, this is what I'm thinking. Let's see, there's 20 people on here. Okay. So I've got 5,200 subscribers. Now, what I've thought about doing, and I don't know, you guys honestly tell me if this is a good idea or not. YouTube gives you recommendations when you go into your YouTube Studio account, look at stuff like that. I thought about setting up a membership, and I'm not in this for the money, but I thought about setting up a membership that's like $2 a month, and then I do some sure enough how-to videos for members that pay $2 a month, and they're the only ones that are going to be able to see it. Now, I might do it anyway without the membership, but I thought about doing the membership because stuff like that, sometimes it gets a lot of views, sometimes it won't, and it takes more time to do videos like that. They're longer, they take longer to edit, they take longer to upload, and I've got to do more research to make sure I'm not spreading misinformation about what I'm doing. So they take a lot of effort to do something that involved. But for example, I want to say for my 307 build where I went into a very good amount of detail on the way I put together a small block Chevrolet engine, I probably had 6 or 7 hours of video for that, maybe more. I get 2 hours out of a SD card for my GoPro, and I think I used over 3 GoPro SD cards, the SD cards for the GoPros. I think I used over 3 of those, and then I had to go back through all of that and sift through the footage and see which video clips I wanted to use. And part of that is my problem because I don't script out anything that I do. I kind of just fly by the seat of my pants. And then if I say something that I'm not sure about, I look up the information real quick. And then if I'm wrong, I have to go re-record it. And then I have to figure out which video clip I'm right on when I go back to edit later. It's a big snowball. So I've thought about doing memberships on the channel. It's really not a good idea when you've only got 5,000 subscribers, but I don't care if I get 4 members that do it. It's just a thought. Tony Genesio, his 70 is in the baby garage out back, just got 20 inches of snow. Oh, there you go. Yeah, and I haven't got any ride-along videos. Really, I don't have any riding videos in my car. So, actually, we went and ate barbecue. We've got a barbecue place in Jackson, Georgia that's about an hour's drive from here. Usually we go there on the way back from Summit or on the way to Summit because Summit is a little over an hour away. And if we go back roads, that's on the way to Summit in Atlanta. So my wife suggested we take the camera and film us going to get barbecue, but I didn't do it. And now I wish I had. So might need to do that. Rusty late model junk until May. Yeah, lots of salt and stuff. BW has the Eastwood Digital TIG 200 and Eastwood 180 MIG. I've got the Eastwood plasma cutter, and it works very well. Timothy Lovern said, if I do that, he will be a supporter. Cool. BW's garage been welding since he was 12. Oh, so are you Pipe Fitters Union or anything like that, or just do that? You don't have to be union, but so yeah, he's been doing serious welding. Hot rods and 4x4s is unemployed as of this moment. Well, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. Like I said. It won't be anything that happens anytime soon. Oh, your father had his own weld shop. Steelworkers. I got you. That's pretty cool. Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, welders, man, you get videos on YouTube or TikTok or wherever or Facebook with welders. They all just are ruthless with each other. I don't care how good the welder is. There's somebody better that's can weld with his eyes shut, blindfolded, without even using a welder. It's interesting to watch them give each other crap about their welds. It's pretty funny. Haven't had a job since 2005. Are you retired? I've mostly been self-employed since 2001. Now, I did work at a hospital for a few years. I still had my heating and air business while I was working at the hospital, but I worked there for about 4 years doing heating and air, working on big stuff. Crippled war vet. Oh, don't say it that way, man. Well, if you're a veteran, thank you for your service. There you go. Just show up. Hey, make 8 and get paid, right? There you go. She's watching. She's in the bedroom back there watching this live feed, Tony. So she appreciates it. And she loved the Christmas card we got from you guys. So thank you for that. Tony sent me a Christmas card. I was shocked. Let's see. Yeah, so okay. So budget paint job, and then I'm going to do some more videos on some budget, or not budget, how-to welding on patch panels and stuff. HT2 in the Navy. Okay, was that your rate? What does that mean? Yes, I have done a small block Chevrolet that refused to run cool. Okay, so let me tell. I've told this story before, Michael Hutchison, but yeah, exactly. So I'm going to tell you about the story. So the shop I worked at in the 90s, we did a Corvette. The guy wanted. He had a '79 Corvette. And someone at some point has stuck a 305 in there, and it was a turd. So we decided we were going to put a 400 in it. One of the shops that we had close by, actually a big remanufacturer, or the owner of the shop I worked at, grew up with this guy, and they're still in business. They built remanufactured auto parts for cross part stores and stuff. Well, he had some 400 blocks, and he built us a long rod 400. Had to use a small base circle camshaft in it, but no big deal. However you take the piston, stock 400 crank, stock 400 block, 5.7 rods. And we put probably some Edelbrock Performer RPM heads on it. I think that's what we were using at the time. We use a lot of those. And it ran hot in that Corvette, and it ran hot. And we tried everything we could think of. And the owner was convinced it was because everybody had told him it was a 400 small block, and you can't run those on the street because they all run hot, which is crap. I mean, they might run warmer than a 350, but the problem wasn't the 400. Well, I had at the time a motor that I had just bought that I was going to use to build into a budget drag motor at the time. I had bought a Pep Boys long block 350 for $699. I think that's what I paid for it. You could buy a remanufactured one, and then the core charge on a 4-bolt was $250. So for, $850, $950, I had a long block 350. Well, I took the heads off and was going to put springs on the heads, stick a cam in it, put the heads back on, and have a little budget 300 horsepower motor or something like that. I ended up trading this for that 400 because the guy was convinced the 400 was the problem. So I traded him. I swapped the motor out because I was the mechanic at the shop. I swapped the motor out, didn't take my commission on the motor, and we traded motors even. We put the 350 in there. It overheated also. Turns out his brand new radiator was clogged up. Now, over all the years that I've been doing this kind of stuff, almost every time that there's been an engine that wouldn't stay cool, it's either been a radiator problem or it's been an airflow problem. And most of the time it's an airflow problem. If the radiator's not junk, it's an airflow problem. Either there's not enough air moving across the radiator, or the design of the car, the air can't get out of the engine compartment. Tell yourself, look at you crazy if you tell them, yeah, you're right. Thank you, Timothy. Hull technician, E5. There you go. I got you. I had a few friends that were in the Navy. One was a engine mechanic. Another guy that was a friend of my father-in-law. I talked to him a bunch about it. He was actually worked on a steam propulsion back in the 60s and 70s. And he did, he was a steam boiler technician. 26 days. Okay, I got you. Oh, come on now. Don't say that. Your Nova will look good eventually. It just takes work. Hey, look, I did a lot of really bad work before I got even halfway decent at any body work or any of that stuff. You get in there and do it. It's just metal. It's just metal. If you don't set it on fire and warp it, it's just metal. It can all be fixed. It can all be straightened out. It might take more practice and more work than you thought, but it's just metal. I agree, Brian. That's what I do. I cut the metal out until the back of it has the minimum amount of rust possible. And depending on where you're at, sometimes that's a terrible location to try to cut stuff out. And then you make a template, make it fit, and then you take your time. The biggest thing is people don't take their time. They get excited and they rush. And when they rush, they screw up and it looks bad, and then they're mad. If they were taking their time, it might have still looked bad, but it probably wouldn't look as bad. Thank you, BW. I appreciate that, man. Thank you, Timothy. Thanks, Brian. It's not like wood. You can add more metal easy. That is true. And and honestly, at some point you get to a point where you're working on this stuff. When I was doing, and my father-in-law was like you meet few people in your life, and most of them are older guys that could do anything. And my father-in-law, he did automotive. He dug his own basement. He built his own house. He did anything he wanted to do. He was in World War II, worked on B-17s and B-29s. He did a lot of experimental stuff on C-130s as a civilian working at the base, and was just a very, very knowledgeable guy. He had it figured out. And he come over and told me when I was doing all the body work on my 73 Nova, and I'm trying to get that thing as straight as I can. And I would spray it with guide coat. I would block it down, and then I'd find another spot. And he'd come over. He said, you have to find a stopping point. It's never going to be perfect, no matter how much you spend on it. There's always going to be something. 99% of the people are never going to see all of the stuff you're worried about when you're this far from it and you're staring at it for 4 hours a day. So find a stopping point. So that's another bit of advice when you're doing this stuff. You're worried about messing the car up, welding in patch panels and stuff like that. And the reality is, even if you do a bad job, and you can make it look halfway decent, it's your car. You're the one that's got to live with it, and to heck with anybody else what they think about it, because most people won't even attempt to try it. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. I would do the best you could do and be good with it. Dad was body mid dive when I was young. Everything I do is self-taught. There you go. Tracy Allen Rothinger, he's in Ohio, 44629. Have my own shop for 28 years. I do paint and body work. Only work in the summer because heating bills take all my profit. Man, I don't doubt that at all. Now, I've got a question for you. Y'all using gas heat up there, or is it your oil burners? I know a lot of the East Coast, farther north than here, they've got fuel oil they use for heating. We're in heat pump country here. I mean, we do have natural gas, but we're like 80%. Pretty much south of Atlanta is 80% heat pump market. Michael's having issues with his running 220, 230 degrees until I swapped the Amazon fan for a spout. Yeah, that's right. And a lot of the cheap fans just don't move enough air. If you can find a factory fan that will fit your, like when I say factory, like a Ford or GM or Chrysler fan that will fit the radiator that you have, those fans move a lot of air and they draw a lot of amps. The Ford Taurus fans are really good fans and they're cheap. You can buy one, a replacement one, and it comes with a little bit of a shroud for like $100, $150. Now you have to buy a connector and maybe a controller for it because I think it's a 2-speed, but they work really well, moving a lot of air. Right. Tell yourself it's a daily driver, not a show car. Good enough is good enough. That's right. Sounds like a jet fighter. Yeah. So, like I said, it's a lot of that stuff when you're working with the metal is terrifying because when you cut it out, it's you've crossed the line now. You've gone too far. No going back. And when you cut the metal out, the only thing you can do is put it back. And a lot of people get online and just, oh, it's full of Bondo and this, that, and the other, full of filler. Sometimes they are. And even when they're done right, they've got a lot of filler on them. Just because if you want it really, really slick, unless you're one of these guys like Jimmy Shine or Ron Covell or somebody like that is a true master of metalworking, you're going to need some filler on your car. I mean, there's plenty of guys that can do an almost perfect body panel without filler, but honestly, if you think about it, your high build primer is nothing more than filler. It's just a really thin layer of it. Yeah, those little torpedo heaters work great. Depending on what kind of shop you've got, you should look at a tube rail heater. They mount in the ceiling. It's got a blower on one end, your burner on the other, and it goes through. They kind of light up and glow. I've put some of those in some mechanic shops around the area that I'm in, and they're not terrible. Natural gas, they're pretty efficient, and they put out a ton of heat. But now, if natural gas is super expensive where you're at, I guess it doesn't matter. You're okay, Leon. Awesome. Yeah. So he's not building a race week car, but he's building something. Well, he's not going to race week, but he's doing a race week inspired car. Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully one day I'll get into drag week. And so, I was at Mike Finnegan from Roadkill. He lives in North Georgia. He had a garage sale last year, and me and my wife went up there. I'd already met him a couple of other times, but I went up there to see what they had for sale. They had some pretty good deals and stuff. I didn't buy anything but a couple of shirts, but I told him I was building a car that I'd like to one day do in drag week. And he said, I said, but it's so hard to get in. And on drag week, they tell you just show up because they've never turned anybody away. Now, at some point, they're going to start turning people away. And race week has a wait list. So does drag week. If people that are on the wait list don't show up, they're not going to get in, no matter how far down the wait list they are. They could be first, and if they're not there, they're not getting in. Whoever's there is going to take priority. But so probably getting in drag week would be easier just showing up than Rocky Mountain Race Week. But because I think normally drag week has a higher car count. I know Sick Week that Tom Bailey is doing, they've got 350 entries on that one. I think drag week does 350. I want to say last year they had closer to 400 total entries. And then Rocky Mountain Race Week has 250. But at some point, if you have too many cars, you don't get enough runs. There's not enough racing, not enough time to get that many cars down the track, especially if you have any oil downs or any problems with the track or anything like that. Yeah, see, so without my shop doors that I haven't put on yet, without having the shop doors on my shop. So last night I went out to the shop for a little while, did some work. It was, I want to say it was 30 degrees, right around freezing outside at the time I was at the shop. And I turned on my 2 air handlers out there with electric heat, and with just the plastic hanging up, I think I had it up to 68 degrees in the shop. So I can get it pretty warm if it's cold here, but it really doesn't get, honestly, last night's probably the coldest night we'll have. Maybe it'll get colder in February, but the coldest night we'll have all winter is probably going to be 20 degrees. around there. Fast EFI with return style seems to be best. No vapor lock issues with the mountains, and it gets hot that time of year. Yeah, and it's I've got the Terminator EFI, the Holley Terminator, and I'm going to be using an in-tank pump. Even if I go to a fuel cell, I'm going to use an internal pump. And I think if you're using your I think if you have your duty cycle on your injectors is real low, if you're not using, like if you've got, for example, my 73 Nova, my Holley Terminator on that, I think is capable of 600 horsepower. Well, that thing's making maybe 300 horsepower. It's a GM stock, brand new GM 350 crate motor. So I think it's got 290 horsepower, something like that. I'm barely using any of the horsepower of that injector, the capability. So if you're running a real low duty cycle on your injectors, I think it's harder on your pump and regulator. I think. Oh yeah, I'm feeling much better now. I'm feeling much better. And I never really, and I didn't. I know a lot of people thought I had COVID, but I didn't. I was having some heart issues, but got all that worked out. Mainly it's high blood pressure. I was dizzy, couldn't lay down, having chest pains and stuff like that. And most of it ends up being, I mean, they sorted my blood pressure out, but most of it ended up being gastro issues. So Nexium was causing me to have rebound reflux or something like that. I've been taking Nexium for a long time, and the Nexium was causing a lot of my issues. Forced air, natural, but thank you for asking. Forced air, natural gas, 7075, no problem. There you go. Yeah, concrete does get cold at night. I kind of wish I had done, since I have the capabilities, I kind of wish I had put heat, the tubes in the floor for the heat on my slab. Infamous Nova, yeah, EFI cheap. You could do EFI cheap. If you have an LS, you can do it real cheap because you can buy the factory computer, the factory harness, and intake and all, and use all the stock stuff, and just you can skin out the harness and use only the stuff you need. Get somebody to flash the computer for you, turn off the VATs, and turn off all the other stuff you don't need. You can actually do the factory stuff, factory EFI pretty cheap there. But on a regular car, you can do Mega Squirt, which is not super cheap because you have to find either a throttle body that'll work, or you've got to find a multi-point fuel injection that'll work and still make some power and injectors. It's not super cheap, but honestly, the sniper stuff isn't bad. I'm not a big fan of the FI Tech or whatever it is called, Phi Tech or whatever it is. I'm not a big fan of that. Hey, Farm Kid's back. I'm not a big fan of the FI Tech because I went and tried to help somebody work on one. I didn't like the interface at all. I tried to call and get support for the one that a friend of mine's shop's putting together or putting in, and I couldn't get any support, like none. So I'm not saying it's a bad product, but the support when I tried to get on there wasn't there. So that sucked. And the Holley stuff, I've called them a few times asking about stuff. No issues at all getting support there. So plus they have a whole forum for it. The FI Tech stuff, it seems like you're kind of on your own. But you can get that stuff for the price of a really good carburetor. Because, I mean, just a 750 vacuum secondary carb now is $350, $400. Double pumper is $400 or $500. So by the time you get there, you're probably going to be, halfway to the cost of a budget EFI system. Correct on pump with low duty. Returns more hot fuel. That's right. Exactly. That's exactly what happens. If you're not making enough power and using up your injectors, you're gonna have issues with your regulators having to work on all that pressure and all that stuff. Yes, there are hacks to turn off VATs. Yes, we have ethanol-free gas here. Usually it's about right now. Gas around here is running around $3 a gallon, 3.05, something like that, and the ethanol free stuff is about 3.75 a gallon. So it's about 70 cents more a gallon. All right, so Farm Kid has parts list for all the LS swap stuff if anybody needs it, and I'm going to do an LS swap one day. And see, this was last year I was trying to call FI Tech, so maybe they've gotten way more popular and it's harder. Joe Harrington is waiting. Warmer weather put transmission in my Chevy too. Been a little cold here. Yeah, and it's cold here too. And a lot of you guys I know are working outside in the yard, which I mean, up until 2 years ago, it was in the driveway for me. The house I grew up in, we had a gravel driveway when I was growing up. So if we were really lucky, we'd pull the truck or car over into the grass and we had to work on it. And then if you dropped anything, it vaporized immediately. It'd be 2 feet deep by the time you dug it out of the ground. You had an LS going back to Big Block Chevrolet. There you go. And like I said, I'm kind of, the LS stuff is played out. Now I'm going to do one and I like it, but so many people are doing it. So I'm not knocking anybody that's done it, but it's, I like it both ways. You've got a big block that's going to eat the L and floss the S. That's funny. Yeah, and LS engines here are hard to find right now. It's difficult to find a decent deal on an LS engine here. And I know a lot of the guys in the north, the trucks are literally rusting around the motors, so they're a little bit easier to find. I agree, Farm Kid. You make so much power with an LS motor that they're very hard to beat. And I'm talking about even a 4.8 will make 400 horsepower with just a cam swap. It's silly how much power they make. The heads on those things are so good. They handle a ton of power. There's a ton of advantages to an LS engine. And I'll be honest with you, the biggest thing I've got against the LS swap is when people swap everything from a truck over to their old car or truck. And it's got the truck intake, even the little Vortec thing on top. I just think I like it when it's done cleaner. I mean, don't get me wrong. If I did one, I'd probably do the same thing. I wouldn't leave the little Vortec. I would try to find a car intake to make it look a little bit cleaner. I just like a cleaner install, which is not always possible. And sometimes you move everything over there and get it running first, and then you swap stuff as you're able to find it. So I get that. You're right. Bang for the buck, no doubt. All right. Don't run gasoline in old cars. Only the CUDA still on pump gas. E85. See, I've never ran E85. And BW, that small block sounds pretty tough in that Nova you've got. Brian's got 125,000 BTU propane jet heater to heat a shop. There you go. All right. Infamous Nova. A big block can do the same and have more torque, but you're going to spend 3 times as much, at least here. I mean, big blocks are very hard to come by for anything less than, I mean, no kidding. A rebuildable 454 here is $1,000, and that's usually just a short block, 750. The heads are usually the peanut port heads. They're worthless. I mean, they're not worthless. I'm going to use the set on the one I'm building, but to start with, but it's hard to beat an LS money-wise. I agree. Gen 6 Big Block Chevrolet small cam will make 400. Yeah, I agree. But here you can't find those. Like I said, you just can't find them for cheap at all. Wow, that's a lot of power. Yeah. Leon, low budget fuel injection is there, just shop marketplace or racing junk. Yeah, I guess somebody needs to do a video on low buck fuel injection. Um, uh, it's got a cam. Okay, I got you. The truck wasn't hooked up. Take a 400 block, stuff a 4¼ inch crank in it. That's right. You can make you can take a 400 block, put a 455 crank that's got the 400 mains in it for a Pontiac, and you can make a 455 at it. I think 30 over is a stock 455 bore, something like that. I have to check that out. Right. Well, around here, I've been looking for a Pontiac motor for a while. I haven't looked in the last year or so. I had a line on like 377, 78, 79 Firebird parts cars. I was going to get all three of them and trade some work for it. And I didn't end up getting them. But while I had that deal going, I was trying really hard for a couple of 3 months to find a Pontiac V8 other than a 350. And I couldn't find anything like at all. I found a few cars. I have to buy the whole car to get a 400 engine or a 455 engine, but that was all I could find. All right, guys, I'm going to have to go here in about 5 minutes. Sorry. No problem, Tommy. Thank you, man. I appreciate everybody coming on tonight. Last few lives, we haven't had that many people, but we've had more questions, which is fine with me. That's right. But the 30, yeah, the 301 and the later model Pontiacs were just terrible. You know, I remember when I was about 16, the guy down the street from me had a 67 Firebird with a 326 in it, and it was $650. And man, I wish I had. Well, Michael Hutchison, you keep missing them because I usually give very little notice that I'm going to be on, and that's my fault. Today I did, or yesterday I did better. I posted the live feed. I set it up yesterday, and then did another post today. So I'm glad it worked out. Right, and that's kind of like me with Novas. Everybody that knows me, they'll call me up and tell me where all the Novas are in town. But all right, guys, we're gonna wrap this up. Man, I appreciate everybody. BW's Garage, Thumper, Infamous, Tommy, Michael, Leon, Brian, Farm Kid, JB's Little Shop, John from Hot Rods, everybody, Timothy. You guys had a lot of Tony Genezio. I've missed somebody, and I'm sorry if I did. But yeah, you guys are Infamous, 2 Hacks. You guys have made this enjoyable tonight. It's been a good time, and we'll have a video out Tuesday on the rear end swap in the Budget Nova. So, Superbag S. Steve, man, I'm sorry. Usually I'm on later, but I got to go do some work, so that's why. But Steve, send me a message. We'll get together. How's the weather in North Carolina, man? But Camaro Boy, the vinyl top trim on a 73 the same as 68, 72 in the rear. Yes, it is. Now, I've got some vinyl top trim for a 73 or whatever that is a different shape on it. It's actually not flat. It's got a different curve to it. I'm going to post a picture on the thing. And I wonder if it's for a BOP car because it's fancier than the regular flat trim for a Nova. But I have some trim, and the trim for a 73, 74 may be different, but I know the trim for a 68 to 72 for vinyl top, the quarter cell panel trim will fit. So, crap weather, take care. Yes, sir. Timothy Leon, good to see you. I know Farm Kid's been hounding me about videos, and that's okay. He needs to. But yes, as far as I know, yes, sir. I'll go take that trim I've got, and I'll post a community picture on my page sometime in the next day. I'll put that vinyl top trim on the 73 and show it on a 68 or 69 or 69 or 70 and show you the difference. I don't think there's any difference. I think all of that is above the body line where it's different. And Tracy Allen Rothetcher has vinyl top trim for 70. I don't think Foam Kid has a channel. I've been trying to tell him to make some videos. All right, guys. Y'all have a good night. We're going to end this now, and we'll go live again next Sunday probably, but a few more videos coming out between then. Y'all guys have a great night. See you later. Maybe. There we go.